If anyone assembled here has just cause why this man and this woman should not be joined together, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I do. And I have a good reason.
Josh, who is that?
Dr. Hensley raped me.
In New York City, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. These are their stories.
All right, guys, welcome to Munch My Benson. My name's Adam. I'm in Galveston, Texas. Josh is on the line with me, and guys, a little peek behind the veil, so to speak. This is the first time Josh and I have spoken to each other in like 2 months.
Yep.
I just had a baby. Things are crazy. You know, what's kind of ironic is that all the times we were talking about the pandemic way back when, well, guys, this still applies. Nothing's changed. The world's getting flushed even further down the toilet. But my life is okay. I can't complain. The kid's growing well. He's doing great. How's Los Angeles, Josh?
It's fine. I'm preparing to have to go back to work. I can't say I'm looking forward to it because the film industry isn't exactly small and self-contained and all that. So yeah. I gigged for like a week on something, but I'm about to have to go back, so.
Well, work sucks in general, I would say. When I go to work, I work outside. I work with like 2 other people, and I don't have to get very close to them. And I also know what I'm getting into every day, and I feel like sometimes a big problem with the entertainment industry is that you never know exactly what you're walking into when you walk in there. Yeah.
I am going to a show. I probably shouldn't say what show it is, but I am going on to a show where I'm not just making shitty PA rate.
That's cool.
And it's a show that I feel good about working on, which I don't always feel good about working on shows that I work on. So yeah, there's that. And like I know some of the people I'm working with, so it eases things a little bit.
That's cool. So should we just get into this? Because I feel like my child is about to go crazy at any moment now. And
yeah, it's a ticking time bomb and you don't have access to the clock.
Big time.
Yeah. The episode for this week is Dearly Beloved from season 20. It's episode 19. Let's see how this goes. It's been a while. All right. Bride, Lana Stallworth, and groom, Dr. Joshua Hensley, are on the precipice of tumbling into wedded bliss when the priest presents the attendees with the option of objecting to their union. This is when Kitty Bennett, or is it Officer Amelia Albers, rises to proclaim, in front of a congregation of well over 100 strangers, that the motherfucker in a tux, about to cinch that cleat hitch, raped her. Wedding? On ice. Kitty discloses that Josh, her therapist, raped her during a late-in-the-day initial appointment that no one was going to be able to verify her being at, while Josh says he's never met her. When Raleigh can't confirm the appointment happened, and another patient says Kitty cyberstalked her on Instagram, the unit does background on the penultimate Bennett daughter from Pride and Prejudice thrust coolly into this wild, postmodern hellscape, and discovers that she'd had a restraining order placed against her by another victim of her cyberstalking. The unit strains to believe her as more evidence of her being unhinged comes to light. Then she throws up in the presence of Benson and Rollins, and since it's a woman throwing up on television, that can only mean one thing. There's a bun in that oven, but it's a rapist's bun. Kitty flippantly says she wants to flush that rape zygote out, that she could never love a rape baby, which sends Liv into a reflective existential tailspin. Despite his protestations and insistence that he didn't know her, the DNA matched Doc Josh to the fetus. Then he and Kitty take turns coming clean. He says they were in a consensual sexual relationship. He even has a key to her apartment. She says that he Svengali gaslighted her into believing that she had, wait for it, erotic rape fantasy disorder, and that he was therapizing her. As we learn more about his relationship with his fiancée, Lana, we discover that she was also his patient before their relationship. So this perv figures out what damages women have and then weaponizes that information. Oh, but it gets worse. Benson and Rollins respond to a call at the Hensley Stallworth loft. Kitty has forced her way in and is pressing a broken bottle to Josh's neck in an effort to coerce a totally inadmissible confession from her rapist. Turns out, Kitty's story of raped lover courtship matched what happened to Lana. Yup, this smug prick raped his fiancée too. Lana testifies to the grand jury. Benson tells Doc, "Ya done?" Then, we get a brisk waterside chat between Benson and Kitty, where Kitty walks back her previous assertion that she was going to take care of that rape baby, and we get an anti-abortion Dick Wolf.
Yeah, we sure do get an anti-abortion Dick Wolf, and definitely one of the more problematic notes in the episode was the final one. But I want to go back. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. Anyways, I would like to say that I want to go back to the very beginning.
Let's just preemptively apologize for any baby noises that are made since Max is in the room. Right?
Yeah, he sure is.
Okay.
I want to go back to the beginning, and just from the get-go, we see in a season 20 episode how just kind of the world has changed with SVU. I mean, for one thing, they're joking about smoking weed. There's kind of this tight editing going on. I found the filmmaking in this episode to actually be kind of top-notch. It's like there's pacing, a lot was being said story-wise in a fairly short amount of time at certain points, and it kind of moved quickly, which was fun.
We also get the weird late season feature of a pop song back in much of the cold open. This time it's Dreams by Beck, which is weird. Usually it's much worse. It's almost always a fucking abysmal song.
Yeah, that's totally weird though. Yeah, that's one of the really off-putting things. Now, I mean, come on. The Wedding Crasher storyline is a little ridiculous, and I don't buy it for a second, but I suppose it's a possible thing.
I mean, the way Kitty's written, it makes sense for the character. I don't know that that character is realistic necessarily.
My biggest issue with this episode, and it kind of comes throughout, is I think that the only person with a believable name is Doc Josh. Everybody else has this absurd names.
So what happened here is, I don't know if you noticed, but the director of this episode is Lucy Liu.
Yeah, it's Lucy Liu, absolutely.
And so I actually really like this. So the Stallworth family is Filipino.
Yeah.
Maureen Sebastian is Filipina from what I could surmise. Ron Domingo, her father, is Filipino as well. Mm-hmm. And Amor Owens is listed as Asian on her page at her agency, but speaks Tagalog and can do a Filipino accent, which means she's also presumably Filipino. So given that surname, the casting assumption going in would have not been Pacific Islander. But Lucy Liu is just like, you know what? Fuck this shit. Every character possible is going to be Asian. Well, and so the Stallworths, all Filipino, and then Hannah Berkowitz. Played by Poppy Liu, who I couldn't determine whether or not Poppy Liu is related to Lucy Liu. But Hannah Berkowitz is played by Poppy Liu, who's from...
She has a credit for The Farewell, but it's just a voice... It's just voice work. She didn't actually appear.
An NBC sitcom this last season called Sunnyside with Cal Penn.
The Farewell was great. I highly recommend that.
Yeah, Farewell was fantastic. She's also in 3 episodes of Better Call Saul this season.
Yeah, that's right. But then it's not just there, because also, I mean, Kitty's, whatever, the Kitty name, that's ridiculous. I forget, what's her last name?
Bennett.
Kitty Bennett. I mean, there's nobody but...
Well, that is the 4th daughter in Pride and Prejudice, is Kitty for short.
Okay.
So that's what that whole joke
about it's a
Pride
reference. Okay. Because I
don't know that it's a reference, because Kitty is the first one to get married, and she's maybe a little flighty, but...
I'm saying nobody between the ages of like 8 and 68 is named Kitty in real life.
Correct. Yeah.
And then the last one, there was a guy named Bo Albrecht, which was also, he's played by an African-American actor. And I mean, I suppose it's possible to have Albrecht be the last name. But it is kind of funny how it's a choice that whatever casting was, they were like, fuck it. We're taking against names, all of them. And we're not changing the names after the fact. I just thought it was a fun choice.
Yeah, I love when shows do that. When a character clearly was written like in one way, and then whoever's in charge of casting that episode is just like, you know what, fuck it. Yeah. We're going to go for representation, and it doesn't fucking matter what the last name is.
It's true.
So you get someone with a clearly Jewish last name, Chinese.
Yeah, Hannah Berkowitz was the one I noticed,
Yeah. But the Stallworths, I mean...
Then when I went back, I was like,
Stallworth is not a Filipino surname.
So I spent a fair amount of time actually trying to figure out which denomination that church was. I'm assuming it was Catholic, but the only real evidence I had to go on was the, I guess you call him the priest if he's Catholic, his vestments. It's possible he was also Episcopalian, though, given he had just the sort of classic priestly vestments. I guess you would call that a cope. Let's see if I got that correct. He has a stole over the regular priestly robe, which, it's not a cope. Never mind.
Is it a cassock?
It might be it's not a cassock. You could consider it a...
Oh, cassock has to have a hood, right?
I believe it's a surplice. A cassock is more like tight around the waist and then wide in the bottom.
I wish we could get my dad on this episode. He could probably tell us.
Yeah, I think it's a surplice with a cope. Oh, no, not a cope. A surplice with a stole over it. Anyways, it had the Agnus Dei lamb carrying a flag, which is most likely Catholic, but it could also be Episcopalian because they're kind of just like, don't want to say this, but they're basically Catholics that can get divorced, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just the Church of England.
Yeah.
In the U.S., obviously.
Yeah. So I didn't get too far there, but I was wondering if there was some sort of weird Dan Brown Agnus Dei thing going on there with the Lamb of God.
My next note is therapist does also spell the rapist, so I think we know he did it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It sure does.
He fucking came over and hugged her in her first session when she started crying about her mom being dead.
Yeah.
Like, Anna Probst, bro. And then he threw her down and raped her, which is even more inappropriate, obviously.
Okay, so I think the implication, so when they went to go check the appointment book, right, there was no appointment there, but they were all in pencil. And I think the implication was that it had been erased.
That it was possible that it was erased. But you should still be able to see...
You should be able to see something.
Yeah.
A smudge. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the best erase job I've ever seen in my life. You could have just had somebody
if it was erased. Yeah.
It was perfect. It was not smudged at all.
Is getting verification of the appointment a HIPAA violation?
It
seems like it might be.
I'd have to ask Megan about that. I don't know for sure, because usually it's about the medical records, but appointment verification might be included in that.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if Carisi was overstepping or if he was just like using his legal acumen and kind of oozing of authority to just sort of like blow her over.
I mean, it would work either way, because I think it's probably... Because, okay, so they're not allowed to release medical records. We'd have to get somebody who's actually read about this to know more.
Yeah.
Hold on, 1 second. Pause.
Is it Megan?
Yeah.
You can ask her.
Hello? Hey, how's it going?
Well, he's sleeping, and Josh and I are recording right now.
Sorry.
No, this is awesome because we were just talking about something that we need you for.
Perfect timing, Megan. So, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
So, is it a HIPAA violation to... What are we calling this, Josh?
Verify an appointment.
To verify an appointment that somebody had.
Yes.
It is? Yes.
Yeah.
She says yes, that's a HIPAA violation. All right. That's fantastic.
I mean, you wouldn't say that somebody was present in the clinic, which to me is the same thing, you know?
Yeah. She's saying...
somebody came up to the desk and be like, hey, is Adam Schwitters here? I'd be like, sorry, I can't tell you that.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Breaking the law, Carisi. Breaking the law.
Do you want me to verify that? I don't want you to publish something that's not true.
It's okay.
But to me, that would be, I would not say.
None of us claim to be lawyers. Anyways, I should go.
All right. Love you, bye.
Love you.
Don't feed him, okay? Don't feed him.
I won't.
Okay, bye.
Did she just tell you not to beat him?
Feed him.
Cool.
Again, not a legal authority, but somebody with more experience than we have does say that is a HIPAA violation, which makes sense to me.
Or that is likely.
Likely. Yeah, it's definitely kind of on the unethical end of things.
I would say charcoal.
Yeah. Well, I'll get to all the cards. I went through the cards. None of them are that interesting. But Hannah Berkowitz's ballet studio, A Toe Above the Rest. That's one of the stupidest names for anything I've ever heard in my life. Also, don't buy that view that they have, a ballet studio in Manhattan with that view. Anyways, must be an expensive place to join.
It's someone's apartment. that just has a nice window that they were able
Yeah,
to dress
honestly,
that way.
it looked a lot like the loft from the episode I'm editing right now, the Michael K. Williams one. I digress. So
my next note is Raleigh are getting a lot of work done on this
they
Monday.
are.
After going to the doctor's office to check on the appointment book, they go to that dance studio to meet with Hannah Berkowitz. Then Rollins tracks down 3 more patients of Dr. Hensley's who confirm he's a good guy. And Carisi runs a background check on Kitty. Then they go to the Fitness Junkies gym to ask Bo Albrecht about why he had a restraining order against her. That is so much police work and completely ignores the fact that New York's not that easy to get around.
No, it really isn't. It takes forever to do anything.
And they're like pounding the pavement on all of this work. They're doing a ton of work. It's also one of those episodes where there's no Finn. And so there are just 3 cops doing everything.
There's 0 Finn. There's no ADA. I haven't ever met I guess he's the most...
Stone.
Yeah, Stone. No, so I was kind of looking forward to that.
Season 21 has a Carisi as the ADA. So Carisi in the most recent season is the ADA. I guess when this episode drops, maybe the new season is going to be airing, but Carisi should still be the ADA then. Stone takes over when Barba leaves halfway through season 19, and then he's halfway through season 19 all the way through the end of season 20. The character started on Chicago Justice. He's played by Philip Winchester, who, since we don't have him in this episode, we don't really need to talk about, but he's noticeable to me from Strike Back.
One of the interesting things as someone who hasn't watched much of this period is the precinct that they're in nowadays does not look like a police precinct, but that's fine. But there are...
Well, the old one blew up.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the old one blew up. I can't remember when that happened, but at a certain point around season 16, maybe, they move into this new fucking studio. I'm guessing they had to keep paying the people to make sets. They had to keep paying a construction and art department.
We're to believe that SVU has their own precinct office now, like their own building.
Well, I think it's just a floor.
A floor in the precinct.
I think it's just a floor in the Manhattan precinct, or in the Upper West Side, or wherever the fuck.
I was happy to see it populated with other police officers besides the ones that are, just the main characters in the show. But what's really striking is just how few main characters there are anymore, or even how few recurring characters. There's no Tamara Tooney, there's no O'Halloran, there's none of this sort of like these worlds coming and going. It's just interesting. But I was pleasantly surprised generally with this episode, I would say.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird getting these late season episodes where you never would have seen Kragan doing the work Liv's doing. He's a captain and he does captain shit. She, however, is always on the street, always working a case, and so often it's just her, Rollins, and Carisi, and then Ice-T. From what I can surmise, it looks like Ice-T probably has like a pretty nice 2 to 3 day a week schedule when he does work.
2 to 3 days. Yeah, 2 to 3 days every other week.
Yeah. If I were to guess, I'd guess he's on like an 18 episode contract.
Yeah.
And at this point, he doesn't need the fucking money.
Sure.
Like it's gravy.
And he does other things also, so.
He's touring, and that's obviously like a fairly big time suck for him too.
Yeah. So, I would say this is a fairly straightforward episode. My big issues are kind of a little bit later on. And do you have anything like as this case is building before we get to where my big issues are?
Oh, okay. Yes. Did you get a load of Benson's Monday outfit?
This is what I was going to say is my single biggest issue with the episode is Benson's fucking weird ass Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, it almost looks like she's wearing a floral print Japanese pajama top under her blazer. I didn't notice it the first time I watched this episode. Really, the first 2 times. But it's so crazy that when she brings Kitty into her office to clear things up, Kitty turns around and it's hard to tell if the shock at her question is at the realization that Benson is wearing the least Benson outfit ever, or it's at the question.
Dude, I don't like criticizing. I like commenting on Ice-T's outfits and occasionally on some of the other male leads' outfits. I don't like commenting on women's wear in television. I don't feel like it's something that I should be doing, but what the
I also think neither of us are actually fashionistas. Maybe it's fashionista if you're a male, but
I don't know, man. But what the fuck is that Hawaiian shirt? It's a bright green shirt with like a yellow hibiscus print, and she's wearing it under a black overcoat. She's not like wearing it like she's, like it's 5 o'clock somewhere,
But the buttons look like it's a pajama top.
I know.
Like, the buttons are so big that it really looks like it's the top of her pajamas that she just like, I'm going to wear this into work today. Fuck it.
So this reminds me of a bumper sticker I saw yesterday when I went to Target. It said, I'm the woman to blame, with the Margaritaville underneath. Anyways.
Okay. That's a totally Galveston bumper sticker, by the way.
Oh, big time. It's like the most Galveston bumper sticker. But what I want to know is Olivia Benson part of the Boogaloo movement? Is her generally poor performance as a police officer over the years part of an elaborate plan to start a race war? These are questions that I have. And we will see Olivia Benson's terrible police work come back into this episode shortly after this scene.
Okay, so I could win Kitty or Amelia Albers or Liz from Roswell or whatever her fucking character's name in Unreal. This is closest to her Unreal character, by the way. That character's unhinged.
Have we talked about how close this character is, though, to Shiri Appleby character from Military Justice? Because it's like the same fucking story.
It's 5 seasons apart.
It's like the same story.
She has gone from the Coast Guard. She's gone from being a coastie to...
Well, did she get a general discharge or an honorable? It was a good discharge.
It was a good discharge, yeah.
Yeah.
So she was discharged, but then she presumably went over to Unreal, where she did, really shitty reality producer things to people.
Yeah.
And now that's completely broken her, and she is nuts.
And she has erotic rape fantasy disorder.
No. That's what he tells her she has.
Yeah.
She doesn't actually have it.
Well, it's not a thing either, so.
No.
Yeah.
That's what this Svengali fuck tells all of his latest conquests.
Yeah, that's a pretty fucked up thing to say to somebody. But yeah, I could totally see this life path occurring to her character from Military Justice. She bounces out. She's already had this fucking trauma happen to her, and then she's seeking out professional help to deal with this trauma. And who's taking advantage of her this time? Her fucking therapist.
Amelia/Kitty says,
Well, a judge can't make me keep it.
No, of course not.
Dr. Hensley tries to stop me from getting an abortion.
Listen, even if he is the father, he has no right to do that.
Good. Because I could never love a baby who was conceived by a monster.
we're going to be dealing with some Liv shit. Liv pleads that it's not the baby's fault because that's what happens in these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
After she freaks out in the stairwell, or shortly thereafter, there might be a scene in between. But we get that shot of Liv gazing absently through the blinds out her window. It's so weird. Like, what the fuck was she looking at? She's looking up. So I don't know. She's looking not towards the street or anything. I never understand the standing at the window looking out shots. They never read the way that I think they're intended to read in a show.
Yeah, it's supposed to be wistful, right? It's like you're just looking at the squad room right now, right?
Like, I could see sitting in your chair looking out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But standing next to the window feels so unnatural to me.
I mean, she's staring out at the distance, remembering her mother, Commissioner Jane Kirkpatrick from the Tom Hanks Dragnet film.
Did you catch the name of the bar that he used to meet Kitty at?
Oh,
or that he says he met her at? It's called The Empty Room.
Yeah, The Empty Room.
And it happens to be the name of this song and a bit from Snuffbox, the Matt Berry Rich Fulcher show. I love that scene so much. He's playing guitar in it.
Nice. So I got a little bit of a obstetrician corner with this episode, of course, because we find that she's felt the baby kicking. And apparently the earliest you could possibly feel the baby kicking would be around 17 weeks into your pregnancy. And I did a little looking at the New York State abortion laws, and abortions in New York are allowed until 24 weeks, and unless there's some, mother's life at risk situation going on. In a lot of states, in Texas, it's 21 weeks. But presumably, it's a pretty short window that she'd have to make a decision. She'd only have a couple weeks, really, from when she likely felt the kicks to when she'd have to do something about it.
When someone on the team utters, "They're both liars," at a certain point, doesn't it feel like it'd be frustrating enough for all of them to just say fuck it and walk away?
What do you mean? Which ones?
It's probably Carisi, but I can't remember who says it. One of the SVU detectives says they're both liars.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're investigating a case where both of these people are just completely lying about everything at every turn, you'd feel like at a certain point, okay, fuck it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that they would have, followed through on this when they found out that Shiri Appleby was so unreliable. They would have just dropped it and moved on.
The instant they have that video, the surveillance video from the apartment, which doesn't make sense in stairwell, but with the instant they have that shot and she's like kissing him in the hallway, that's like, nah, fuck that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Washing my hands of this.
I mean, distressingly, because I'm sure like dozens, hundreds, thousands of rapes go without justice because of that. But yeah, cops in New York City are probably busy and have to do something better than like make somebody unlie to them.
Yeah, it just continue to expose every fucking lie at every turn.
Until they lie enough that Lana Stallworth saves the day. But it gets kind of grim there with the Liv stuff. And you know how I feel about backstory in SVU episodes.
At least there's no Noah in this one.
Yeah, no doubt. But I don't love it. And it really did turn into a pretty long Olivia backstory episode. I gotta tell you, I didn't even watch any of those scenes the second time I watched it. I just kind of skipped right through them.
And it only clocks in at 40 minutes, so there's a lot of wasted time on that bullshit.
I know. I feel like there's all this action in the first, 10, 15 minutes of the show, and then it just stops and it's dead. Let's see. I do have some notes about the cards because I went through them.
Before we get to New York State of Mind, I've got one about like erotic rape fantasy disorder. What a piece of shit.
I know.
He lines up his patients to rape, then gaslights them. Once he's broken down exactly what's wrong with them and how he can exploit that. But at least he can lustily recite passages from The Master of Margarita while Rachmaninoff plays at a tasteful volume in the background. So I guess there's that.
Yeah, I mean, I have an article here about, the sort of phenomena of rape fantasies and how a lot of times it's kind of bullshit projection from Freudian...
From rapists.
Yeah, from like Freudian men psychologists trying to
justify their own urges.
Well, not so much. It's just, it's an out-of-date way to codify things that's really, it's harmful to psychologists.
It's just deleterious to really everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And I gotta tell you, I haven't read this whole thing yet. But basically... I have a good article from Psychology Today which says, don't call them rape fantasies, and basically goes through a history of psychology texts.
Can you bookmark that and shoot the link out on Twitter?
Yeah, I absolutely can. And how it's bullshit, basically.
When we drop this episode in fucking 2 months.
But yeah, it goes from, starting back in the 1800 or so. Oh, man.
So men have only been trying to justify rape for 2 centuries at least?
At least.
Before it wasn't even a thing. It didn't matter.
You didn't have to justify it.
You didn't have to justify it. Men could just fuck whatever they wanted.
Oh, yeah. Another note about the kind of modern era of SVU is that they don't even have to make up stupid names for social media sites. They just come out and talk about Instagram nowadays.
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook are just...
They're just things. They don't have to go to FaceSpace or MyBook.
They probably can't show them.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember ever seeing a Facebook or an Instagram page, but they can talk about it now, at least.
Mm-hmm.
The graphics department has to like not having to create that shit anyway.
I know, right? Okay, another thing is it was a rare wintry shot at the end of the episode. It was kind of, with the music at the beginning, it was another one of those kind of jarring things. Like, I don't remember seeing snow in an SVU. I'm sure it happens.
I mean, it's surely happened, but I can't recall one.
I know of ones that were shot in November, just from doing this, so I actually looked it up. But yeah, I don't recall seeing snow. It's just interesting.
Well, so much of that time would be the sort of mid-season hiatus that they would go on around Christmas too. So there's not really that much time that they'd be up and running shooting.
Yeah, that's
during winter New York. At least winter where there'd be snow on the ground.
I mean, maybe there was like a late season snowstorm or something when they were filming in March, as it was supposed to be happening.
If it was dropped in March, it was probably finished, like a month and a half ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Well, the cards all said March. I didn't look at it, the actual when it was dated from.
Usually the cards are pretty close to the date it's dropped. Let me look real quick. So Dearly Beloved aired on April 4th. So it was probably shot in early February.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let me just talk about the couple cards that I wanted to talk about. The ballet studio was at 19th Street, 97 West 19th Street. I tried figuring out if that's where it actually was based on the buildings in the background, but that was a little bit harder than you might think. I don't think it's where they said it was, because I think you can see the Citigroup Center, which is a famous building that's kind of got it's like white with a 45-degree angle thing at the top. I think think you could see that one in the background, and it would have it in a weird place that wouldn't make sense, but I couldn't get a good idea of it. The gym where Bo Albrecht worked was kind of a funny one. So it's 287th Avenue, and it's actually, that address is the museum at FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology. So maybe that's a little in-joke, right? Putting museum at FIT where a fitness junkies go. And then the last one that I will point out, is Kitty's apartment, which is 91 West 21st Street. And this is a very bland block that just makes me sad about what New York City is nowadays, because it's got a Chipotle, a GameStop, something called New York Burger Company that looks incredibly boring, a McDonald's, and is right across the street from a Trader Joe's. So I'll give you the Trader Joe's. That's kind of nice, but it's just like impossibly bland. There's zero local flavor or interesting downtown color on this block.
Sorry, but there's New York Burger Company there. There's nothing more New York than New York Burger Company.
It looks terrible, man.
So I've got a couple more notes mostly about Josh, not me. I want to clarify.
Not you, Josh. Yeah.
I'm not this guy. Lana and Josh have a shitty relationship where he dominates her while listening to classical music. Mm-hmm. There's no way the fun-loving girl with the bridesmaids in the cold open wants to be loving classical music. And he makes her read Russian literature?
Yeah, that's fucking weird. Are we talking...
Presumably Dostoevsky and fucking...
Tolstoy?
Yeah, Tolstoy and Pasternak, and I mean, it's not fun.
No, it's not fun. I mean, if it was like Chekhov, but you wouldn't say literature if you're reading Chekhov, right? That's like I'm reading plays.
I mean, maybe because it's a classic play, though, it would be fucking grandfathered in. But
it would be funny if there was like a little like gun in Act 1 fired at the Act 3 or something like that. But I didn't notice anything quite that well plotted. Note about Josh's fashions. So this motherfucker was wearing like a thick cable knit sweater with no shirt underneath it. That's kind of monstrous, I think. You wear an undershirt with a heavy sweater.
Yeah, because it's gonna fucking itch.
It's gonna itch, and you also you're gonna go in and out of warm stuff. And you're gonna sweat into it.
I assume that's TJ. I'm assuming it's Tyne, but maybe it's Thine or Thine. Mm-hmm. But I'm assuming it's Boner from Bones. I'm assuming that's like his personal fashion.
That's what he does.
That he adheres to IRL, living off that sweet, sweet Bones money.
Yeah, sweet Bones money. The other day, Chanel.
Yep. Oh, when Josh has the bottle to his neck, he still has the balls to say she's sick and needs help. I love then when Lana, out of fucking nowhere, just like, do it! and then, oh, he raped her too. This guy's a monster.
He pulled up my dress. And he raped me. And then I drove him home.
Hey, that doesn't make what he did to you okay.
I was so confused about what had happened. He called me the next day and asked me to make an offer on the loft. When the seller accepted, he showed up at my apartment with flowers, champagne. It was an apology for being so rough with me. When I tried to talk to him about it, he said it was okay that I used my sexuality to cement the relationship.
He's sick.
Jesus Christ, that's fucking gross.
Big time. Pretty happy looking wedding to a relationship that's built on some dark, horrible shit.
Yeah, terrible, terrible things. Terrible foundation for that relationship.
And, Josh has some wonderful friends. The Stallworth family seemed very pleasant. It's really sad for all of them.
At least Lana's out, and now she's going to get to smoke weed with all her friends again.
Well, that's true. And, maybe she can start, actually finding a ethical therapist and getting her shit unpacked, which has clearly needed to happen for some time.
So the subtext in the Harborside scene is, don't be a dickhead like my drunk mom, right?
Yeah, that's basically it. My drunk mom was an asshole to me, and that's what I've been living with my entire life. So my mom sucks, but I'm glad she didn't abort me. I guess is the that's the subtext.
Should we just get to rating this fucker?
Let's just rate this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So every week we rate these episodes. We do it on a few criteria. We do the quality.
A four-tiered scale.
Yeah, four-tiered scale. We do the quality of the episode, the guests, how problematic the episode was, and problematic being a good thing. We want it to upset us and make us feel a little dirty. And then the depth and breadth of lives ruined within the episode. This comes together in a composite score that we then can kind of rank against all the other ones that we've seen. So we do this on a 10-point scale too. And we've had an episode be as high as a 9.25, and we've had an episode be as low as a 1.5. So I don't know, Josh. I think this one is going to be somewhere in the middle, but not especially high. But let's just get to it. Let's start with the quality.
I would guess it ends up at like 4.5 or 5.
Let's start with the quality. What did you think? I thought it was a professionally made episode that kind of fell apart in the second half, is how I would describe it.
Yeah, I mean,
plot-wise, at least.
Yeah, sitting through an episode where both the victim and the perp are liars, and just sitting there watching the unit get to the bottom of all of these lies to try to find the truth gets a little tedious.
It kind of strains credulity, too, right? Because police, like detectives, don't have time for that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of...
Especially since the unit apparently only has 3 people who fucking work in it.
Yeah, but they have to have victims helping them.
Seems like there are a lot more rapes in New York that need their attention than this fucking case.
So, what do you think overall quality? Where would you... I'd say a 4. That's kind of how I feel.
That's where I come down on.
Like, not bad, but not above average. The guests, so Shiri Appleby was great. She has a weird... because we just saw the other Shiri Appleby episode, and her character has almost exactly the same shit happen to her, which is an authority figure take advantage of her position and rape her, and then basically make her look like the bad guy.
I mean, I hope she comes back in a 3rd episode where she doesn't have to rehash the same character over and over. Just because I generally like her.
Yeah.
But she wasn't getting to unearth anything new as an actor.
Yeah. It's the same ground that she's tilling.
Trod upon.
But I still think the kind of like reality bending aspect of that is fun.
It is.
I thought all the smaller roles were good. I thought Lana Stallworth was good. I thought
Hannah Berkowitz.
I thought Hannah Berkowitz was great.
Bo Albrecht was pretty sweet. Yeah, I mean, the guest stars were good, and there is that brain melter, like, wait, she was just on an episode like 5 fucking seasons ago. So there is that where, you know, the SV universe just fucking, you know, is sort of like turning in on itself. And so that's fun, especially because we just watched, like, from where we are right now, we just dropped that episode like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I want to call it a 5 because I think it's got 2 things. It's got the Shiri Appleby part is a lot of fun, and I think that also the directorial choice to just say fuck it with the character names and, you know, have Hannah Berkowitz be a gay Asian lady
and the Filipino stalwarts.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I love it, and I think it's. Yeah, I think it should be. I don't think that there's standout performances or really besides Shiri Appleby, it's not like the last episode we watched, it had Jane Kasmerick in it and it had like bigger stars. We've seen a lot with kind of bigger names recently.
Right.
So I don't know, 5 or 6, somewhere in there?
Yeah, 5. I think 5's fine.
Okay. So we're saying 5 for the guess. What about how problematic was it? Because this is kind of its best, I think this is its best category.
Its finest attribute.
Because it was definitely problematic.
Yes.
It definitely made you confront Benson's tortured past as a product of rape. And it really made you question what psychologists are up to, you know?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that profession doing out there?
Yeah, like how many therapists are the rapists?
They are the rapists, aren't they? So what do you want to say? 7? 7?
Yeah, because it's undermining at least in this time, undermining a thing that people should be genuinely, like, seeking out. There are a lot more people that have problems, that therapy is generally sort of still stigmatized. And this further stigmatizes it.
This episode is putting a big space in between the E and the R.
Yeah, huge space. It's all capping. It's rapist is all caps in this episode from therapist.
All right, so we're going to say 7.
I think that's the name of the episode.
And then it also has It also gets very pro-life at the end. It gets very pro-life, where Liv is basically talking about more or less recommending that Shiri Appleby goes and gets a fetal heart rate exam before she goes and gets the procedure done. You know,
that's sort of a persistent problem with this show.
Yeah.
Where, especially now, 21 seasons in, the main character of the show in many cases would have been aborted, and we hear that every time someone's pregnant.
Yeah, and you'd think that she would have a more professional response to this at this point in her career, because, I mean...
Isn't she a captain?
Well, she's a lieutenant.
Shouldn't she not even really be working this case?
She's still a lieutenant. Still said lieutenant on her desk.
Oh, okay. She's a captain in season 21 then.
Okay.
She's a captain by season 21.
Still, but she is... probably the single most decorated and respected rape investigator in the city of New York.
Yep.
And a city that has 30,000 police officers at its disposal. She clearly has to confront this as part of her job all the fucking time.
It should be rote.
Yeah, and she should have a very good response for it, which is, maybe in part colored by her experiences, but not where she has a breakdown every time she hears that somebody
is contemplating abortion.
Yeah, or going to have a rape baby.
Yeah.
It's like, she's not birthing you, Liv. I'm sorry. But
I wonder how many times a season Liv has that scene. Has the just existential fucking quagmire.
What we should do is we should do a
sound cue,
a montage video of every time Liv is wistfully staring out Venetian blinds.
Can we farm that out to somebody else? Hey, whoever wants to do that for us, that would be awesome, because Adam and I really do not have the time.
Yeah,
he's got a dog and a baby in the room with him right now.
Jesus Christ. All right, so let's get to the last one. Depth and breadth of lives ruined. So, it's got to be average, right?
Yeah, because presumably he has more victims. We also have the bride, Lana Stallworth, is Filipino. Her parents are conceivably immigrants, or she's probably at the point in the post-immigration cycle where her parents might be second generation and doing okay, but they still have to pay the bills for all that fucking wedding shit. It didn't look like it was a cheap wedding. There were hundreds in the background. They surely aren't getting their deposits back. This is conceivably really doing damage to her family's pocketbook, and she's a victim, and so then her parents are victims.
That was a big wedding, and it was clearly a two-site wedding. So you got the church and you got the reception hall afterwards. Right. You're losing your deposit on all of that stuff.
Yeah, the food. I mean, conservatively speaking, they're out probably $25,000-$30,000,
something like that, easily. Yeah, and not to mention,
maybe the church didn't cost that much, but the reception would have.
It depends.
In New York, especially.
But here's the thing with Catholic weddings. So it doesn't officially cost that much, but you're expected to give donations in order to kind of,
it's all a fucking shakedown.
Ease the passage. Exactly. And you have to do these wedding classes. It's a mess. So it looked like a big family. So
if Pope Francis cared about the people, he would make sure that shakedown bullshit went away. I'm putting you on notice, Pope.
This is a shakedown that's been going on for 1,500 years, okay? So we got the family. Their lives are clearly fucked. Shiri Appleby seems to, I think, coming out of this, on the up and up.
Well, she's still going to have to fucking deal with having that baby.
Well, it's not clear. That is one thing. Okay, hold on. He thinks it's dinner time. It's not. She's clearly contemplating having an abortion or not. And so it's going to be an issue for her, but I think that she's coming out of this with empowered, I would say, by facing down her accuser and coming clean with her own lies.
And she really faced him down.
Yeah, she sure fucking did.
She broke that fucking bottle off and...
in the same way, Lana Stallworth now is not having to go through with a marriage based on fucking horrifying rapes as the beginning of it. So that's a good thing.
And being forced to like Russian literature.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I feel like some of you dabble in.
I don't want to shit on Russian literature, but it's not the only thing I would want to take in.
I mean, but it's great. Absolutely expose yourself to it at the right time, which is not when you're 30 years old getting married.
Being forced to it by your rapist.
Yeah, by your rapist husband.
It's like he's raping her all over again.
Like, every fucking time they go to a ball in War and Peace, it's like he's raping her again, basically.
Yep.
Okay, so who else? So Bo Albrecht has the restraining order. Well, he's fine. Trying to think of who else has a problem.
I think that's it.
Really, I mean, Hannah Berkowitz had some issues with the traffic through the tunnel, but I don't think that's really that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that factors in on our scale.
But honestly, I feel like the person
tunnel traffic.
I feel like Liv comes out of this episode worse than almost anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, do we give her credit for that?
I know, really? Because again,
we shouldn't. She should have dealt with this.
I'm sorry,
she's seeing a therapist at this point too. No, a therapist, not the rapist.
No, but I am highly sympathetic to her trauma from childhood. However, again, to be in her position, though, you have to deal with it. You just have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are we saying? 4 for this? Depth and breadth of lives ruined? And I'm giving the 4 just because, like...
Yeah, 4.
The family lost a lot of money for that wedding.
The family lost a fuckload of money, and I don't think they were loaded.
No, they didn't look loaded. So, yeah, that brings us right in at 5. So that works.
It seems average to me.
It was enjoyable while I was watching it, and then when I went to watch it again, I didn't find too much to really...
I've seen this episode 4 times in the last 6 months, because I watched it when I was finishing up season 20, and then we drew it, and so I watched it 2 more times when we were about to tape, and then you and Megan had Max, and post-VMP, we went into a 2-month hiatus recording. Luckily, we had a bunch of banked episodes.
Yeah, we sure did. No, it's funny. So 5 puts it in kind of interesting company. We've also given 5s to the Rory Culkin, Mayor Winningham episode Manic. We covered that in episode 6. It was the best of Culkins. It was the worst of Culkins. We also gave a 5 to the very next episode, which we covered in this Sad Sack POS as an inverted Jenny. And then another 5 was given out to Persona. That was season 10, episode 8, which we did in episode 23 of this show, which we haven't named yet because...
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So I would say that this episode gets to that 5 in a wildly different way than all of those other episodes did. Yeah. Which those ones get there by being kind of crazy and off the wall, and this one gets there by being professional and kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that's fun. Anything else you got to say before we fire up the brand new randomizer that we have, guys? You want to intro our randomizer?
Yeah, I'll intro the randomizer. So, friend of the show, Flet, created episode.lol, where you can type in any show you want, and it will kick out a random episode for you.
It works beautifully.
Yeah, it works fantastically.
You press, basically, you put in the show you want and say, yeah, that's the show I want. And then when you hit select a random episode, it does all the work that I was doing with a random number integer generator.
Yeah, we were having to go to the Wikipedia list.
Not just one, it was 2 Wikipedia lists, because there was one for like season 21 and then another one for seasons 1 through 20.
Or it's 1 through 19 and then 20 and beyond.
Yeah.
This one pulls the capsule, tells us who's in it. It's got a picture even.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick a random episode right now.
It's got directed by, written by, guest stars, a little overview. It's really nice.
Yes, it's fantastic. It's so much more convenient for us.
Oh yeah, big time.
So I'm going to pick a random episode right now. Again, thanks, Flat. So firing up the randomizer.
Oh, I hate that part.
We've got Risk, Season 4, Episode 12. An infant overdoses on cocaine mixed in the baby food, and the detectives arrest a suspect. Upon receiving resistance from internal affairs, the entire squad goes undercover to flush out a drug ring run by dirty cops. Huh. Okay. So this is directed by Juan J. Campanella, who's probably directed, I would assume that he's directed the second most episodes. Best VU after JDS.
Yeah, JDS.
Looking down the guest stars, not seeing a ton here that are recognizable. I feel like Ernest Waddell. Oh, Brian Callen's in it. He's a rapist, an alleged rapist.
Oh, it's a Finn episode. So it's
Ernest Waddell. Okay, so that's one of Finn's kids, right? Doesn't he play?
Yeah, he plays what's his name?
Pulling it up right now because it goes straight to IMDb from those links.
Nice.
He plays Ken.
But I'm trying to remember Ken's other name. Kwame. right?
Kwame.
Yeah, that's he goes by Ken. Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of the character or the rest of the actors I don't recognize.
Overall 78.
We'll see.
Cool. All right. Well, let's call it there, Josh. I've got a baby who is probably he's been sleeping like an angel this whole time. So
cool.
What can I complain about?
Yeah, we lucked out.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to do this again next week without any problems.
Yeah, we'll see. Cross our fingers.
All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Munch our Bensons.
Big time.
I gave both those women exactly what they wanted.
No, you conned them into believing that that's what they wanted. And like any good con man, you've convinced yourself that your victims got what they deserved. You are done, Doctor. You're done.